Artists have painted it. Photographers have captured its every angle, mood, and color. It has inspired great music and millions of words. The eminent 19th century naturalist, John Muir, may have left us the most honest description of what it is like to gaze upon it for the first time. No matter how far you have wandered hitherto, or how many famous gorges and valleys you have seen, this one, the Grand Canyon of the Colorado, will seem as novel to you, as unearthly, as if you had found it after death on some other star. It is an awesome scar in the earth, as if the planet's very skin had been ripped at the seam. In addition to great length, width, and depth, it has a fourth dimension: time. No other natural wonder on Earth displays the realities of eternity as clearly as the Grand Canyon. These walls are the open pages of the world's oldest history book. The deeper we descend, the farther back in time we can see. Now, imagine if we could ride the wind, wing to wing with the canyon's most visible resident, the raven, defying gravity to explore places in this magnificent landscape that have never, and will never, display the footsteps of man. Come, let's join the flight. Riding thermals as old as the hills, we are staggered by nature's most awesome expression of creative power. As far as the eye can see, achingly tall spires, daunting precipices, chiseled formations of stunning color. Unique and beautiful beyond imagination, each dwarfs even the most majestic of man's architectural achievements. There are, in fact, other canyons in the world equal in scale. Some are deeper, some even wider. But there is no other canyon on Earth that looks the way this one does. Though its creation required a full range of geological and environmental forces, the Grand Canyon's chief architect is the Colorado River. Bursting from its headwaters in Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park, the river cuts a deep swath through the American Southwest to its ultimate destination in the Gulf of California. It is a circuitous journey approaching 1,500 miles. But the river's erosive power comes not from its length, but from its drop in elevation. It descends more than 10,000 feet from its source to the sea. A river slicing through solid rock? Stand on its banks and you will understand. Better still, try holding on for dear life as you ride the raging current. It may be hard to believe, but it used to be faster. Several decades ago, the Colorado River was dammed to provide electrical power to the burgeoning cities of the Southwest. Before then, the current carried 500,000 tons of sediment through the canyon each day. That's as much eroded earth as a 10-ton dump truck can haul out every second of every day. No wonder intrepid explorers joked that its reddish water was too thick to drink, too thin to plow. The Colorado is not by any means the only river that has carved a course through the plateau. Engorged with the runoff of summer thunderstorms and spring snowmelt, countless other creeks and rivers have carved their own smaller canyons. But they all lead inexorably to the Colorado. It is the merging of all these riverbeds, together with millions of years of wind and weather blasting away layer upon layer of limestone, sandstone, shale, and granite, that has created the vast natural wonder we call the Grand Canyon. From Lee's Ferry to Pierce Ferry, the Grand Canyon of the Colorado is 277 circuitous river miles long. From rim to river level is often a vertical mile that simply takes your breath away. At its narrowest point, it resembles an incision in the earth only 600 feet across. At its widest, a chasm spanning 18 miles. It is one of the few natural formations on the planet that can be enjoyed from the window of an orbiting space shuttle. The buttes and towers that rise like exotic sculptures are evidence of monumental changes to the Earth's surface. Grinding collisions of the Earth's tectonic plates thrust the land up to form mountains. But time and again, they were chiseled back by the slow but insistent erosion of wind and water. More than once, this high desert plateau was alternately ocean floor and Sahara-like desert. It may seem an imperceptibly slow process, but like gravity, it is inevitable. Nature has a great deal of time on her hands. Though it is built upon a 2-billion-year-old foundation, the gaping landmark we see today is, by geological standards, a very young feature. Geologists suspect it began to take its present shape no more than 6 million years ago. To appreciate the eons necessary to create the Grand Canyon, and how the elements built it up, tore it down, and whittled it into the Earth's crust, we can imagine a very abbreviated timeline. 2 billion years, compressed into one 24-hour day. The first chapter begins at midnight and goes until dawn, for what geologists call the Precambrian era. Here, deep within the dark, foreboding walls of the inner gorge, The rock is half as old as the Earth itself. Long before a river ran through it, this rock, known as Vishnu Schist, formed the roots of a towering mountain range. Although these mountains have long been erased from the landscape, their surviving granite cliffs can rise 1,500 feet above river level and delve thousands of feet below the canyon floor. Late morning of our imaginary day, beginning approximately 1.2 billion years ago, the Earth literally boiled up under the intense heat and pressure of seismic and volcanic activity. The next several hundred million years is a time geologists call the Grand Canyon Revolution. The Earth's constant shifting caused the region's surface to tilt and crack, creating uneven formations called fault block mountains. Above ground, wind and water began to deposit a 2-mile thick layer of sediment on the schist foundation. The limestone present in these formations indicates the region spent much of this time period below sea level. Indeed, encased within these layers is fossilized evidence of the oldest known life at the Grand Canyon. Life that came from the ocean. Despite all this violent earth building, by late afternoon of our abbreviated day, some 550 million years ago, erosion had once again filed these mountains back down to a plain. Dusk brings forth the Paleozoic era, a truly prolific chapter of lasting change. These are the formations that make up the upper 2/3 of the present canyon and best illustrate the dramatic upheavals of the Earth's surface. Incredible as it seems, though the canyon's north rim rises nearly 9,000 feet above sea level today, the top 300 feet of limestone could only have been created at the bottom of the sea. Preserved in these 230 million year old formations are the tracks of the Earth's first vertebrates, the slow, short-legged prehistoric ancestors of alligators, crocodiles, and of course, the canyon's occasional Gila monster. Night of our mythical day brings forth the Mesozoic era, the age of dinosaurs. Though all signs of their existence within the Grand Canyon have long been buried or washed away, dinosaur tracks and fossils have been found on the nearby Navajo Reservation at Tuba City. Frankly, the canyon has little to show for these 130 million years. Only isolated remnants remain of what was once a 4,000 to 8,000 foot layer of Mesozoic rock. Those formations that did survive, like Cedar Mountain in nearby Painted Desert, did so only because they were protected by lava domes incurred during the violent volcanic activity that would soon follow. Deeper into our mythical night, 70 million years back in time, the whole Colorado Plateau finally begins to rise to its current elevation. This is the Cenozoic era, the age of mammals, and the arid plain abounded with such creatures as prehistoric camels, horses, sloths, and mammoths, all destined for extinction, as were the era's impermanent layers of sediments. carving of the Grand Canyon as we know it today began no earlier than 6 million years ago, or, on our 24-hour clock, about 4 minutes to midnight. Thousands of feet of Mesozoic rock were chiseled from the landscape and washed away, a process that the elements and the Colorado River continue to this day. It wasn't until 1 million years ago, just 43 seconds before midnight of our imaginary day, with the canyon cut to within 50 feet of its current depth, that ancient man made his appearance on the earth at last. Earliest man, had they actually been here, would probably not have enjoyed the Grand Canyon. It was undergoing a massive volcanic eruption that deposited new lava-based formations and made great lakes out of the Colorado River. There are still huge chunks of lava in the riverbed. River runners swear they make the best rapids. Only in the last 10,000 years do we come to man's recorded history. The last 2/5 of a second of our 2-billion-year-old day. As for the changes recorded in the Grand Canyon during this period, the story is far from over. If the dinosaurs were no match for the winds of change, ancient man had little hope of claiming the land as his own. Many came and went, but traces of their legacy do remain. It was during the last ice age, 11,000 years ago, that the first Homo sapiens migrated into the canyon. Paleolithic Indians, known as people of the Folsom culture, lived by following herds of game animals. Though proof of the animals of the period can still be found, little evidence remains to prove the existence of their hunters. By 2000 BC, humans of the archaic culture entered the canyon in pursuit of game and wild plants. These prehistoric people left behind scant evidence of their residence. In addition to fire pits, split-twig figurines have been found in scattered, isolated caves. Their creators may have believed them to possess magical powers to bless the hunt. Theirs was a fragile and dangerous world. Water, and the awesome presence of the river itself, may have been the primary focus of their spiritual myths. The world would be flooded, and all creation would be destroyed. So say any number of ancient legends. One wonders if these native peoples were aware that their dry, desert homeland was indeed more than once a raging sea. About 2,500 years ago, their gathering and hunting lifestyle underwent a monumental change with the introduction of maize, or corn from Mesoamerica. The gradual adoption of agriculture and its more sedentary lifestyle led to improvements in many aspects of life, like diet, basketry, pottery, and as they became less nomadic, the design of their homes. Ultimately, the archaic culture evolved into the basket maker, so named for their extraordinary watertight vessels. Over many generations, these basket makers peoples evolved into three distinct, geographically isolated cultures. One of them, the Anasazi, or pre-Puebloan people, began building small villages in the canyon, complete with granaries to store their extra corn. In or around the 12th century, they too abruptly abandoned their homes. Just why is unclear. Perhaps a prolonged drought. Perhaps the Grand Canyon's last volcanic eruption, which evidence suggests occurred in the year 1064 AD. It was more than a century before the next residents arrived. These were the ancestors of the present-day Havasupai. Their village, established on the canyon floor near Havasu Falls, has been home to the Havasupai people for over 800 years. The first Europeans to gaze upon the canyon were the Spanish conquistadors. Under the command of the famous explorer Coronado, they were pressing north in hopes of discovering Cibola, the legendary cities of gold that had inspired their journey. They were received in peace by the Hopi people, who told them of something more genuine, the Great River. Intrigued, Coronado sent a small scouting party with Hopi guides to the South Rim. Unable to reach the river below, the soldiers turned back disappointed and disillusioned, and reported to Coronado that the buttes and towers that, from above, looked to be no taller than a man, were indeed higher than the Cathedral of Seville. Spanish missionaries began to arrive in 1776, moving into villages to proselytize the friendly but somewhat reluctant natives who were very happy with their own spiritual beliefs. Fur traders followed within half a century. Both parties of whites saw the canyon as an obstacle, not as a great natural wonder. It would prove quite a match for American ingenuity as well. In the mid-19th century, Lieutenant Joseph Christmas Ives was sent by the U.S. Army to establish a supply route to its troops in Utah. He set out by steamboat from the west, up the Colorado River, but shipwrecked before reaching the canyon. Continuing upstream by wagon train, he was again stopped before completing the journey. There was only river and cliff, no room for a trail. Ours has been the first and will doubtless be the last party of whites to visit this profitless locality, he wrote in his now